Okay. Hey, everybody. Hold on. I got to grab my pen. Where did I put my pen? Hopefully, this thing will work. Hey, welcome to my live, chess live. I have, really seriously, I can't help it. Alexander Alekhine is one of my very favorite chess masters, grandmasters to play through. There's nothing like him. There's just nothing like him. Yeah, I know. Fisher said, "Yeah, I just can't understand him and all." Well, one of the really interesting patterns that we'll see in both of these games, and I'm going to show you two of his brilliancies. His first one's against AJ DeWitt, and he gets such a superior position that his tactics just overwhelm his opponent. And that's what makes him so good and so fun to watch. So Alekhine's playing white here. Knight f3, d5, arguing for the center, as absolutely always. And then Alekhine pulls an interesting situation here. He does the ready opening. He's going to honor the hyper modern opening. Now, he didn't, in his note, he said he doesn't necessarily agree with pushing the B pawn this far, but in the spirit of the hyper modern, to show Potash that he didn't know what he was talking about, he went ahead and played. And so he secures the center pawn, black, here. And of course, you push the B or the G pawn, and you're going to fianchetto your bishop. And that bishop does play a good role in this game. Bringing the knight out, a3. He's going to secure the pawn. And the reason why is because the fight, this is so interesting because the fight is actually going to go in the center, but it's going to be fought from the wing. It's almost like I've never seen anything quite like this. Oh, it looks like a few of you are coming in. Welcome. Hey, Paul Lozano. Hey, Mexico City. Welcome. Thank you. And Chris Gordon. Oh, it's snowy and blustery here too. That's why I'm wearing my hoodie right now. It was 15 below zero this morning. Been a very cold day. So yeah, perfect day for watching chess. Here we are. I love it, man. Perfect day for doing some. I'm sorry I'm so late, but we gotta. I've been dealing with the cold and the snow and all that. So this A3 bumps this up. So I was just saying I'm going to show two Alekhine games that are just delicious. They're so much fun. He brings C5, and this is such an interesting situation because his opponent is more or less occupying the center with the pawns. And that's one that entirely legitimate way to do it, right? You can occupy the center real easy with pawns, and that's good, or you can influence it. But he's going to already fight him on the wing. And so the B will take the C. So, and this is so typical in chess that it's so interesting that this actually helped. Hey, Juicer, baby. Juicer name. How you doing, my man? Hello. Welcome. I'm sorry I started so late today. Appreciate you showing up. But I'm doing two of Alekhine's brilliancies today. I figure, man, it's so cold here. It's 15 below zero this morning where I'm at. And it's so cotton picking cold. Let's just do some chess. So this pawn move actually helps black develop a bishop with tempo, getting rid of a very influential central pawn. Not a central pawn as such, but one who is influencing the center. So at this point, man, black owns the center. Now, if you know anything at all about Alekhine, take a picture of this. Now, this won't last, of course. This is all temporary, especially when you're playing the manimal Alekhine. He's not going to let that stand. But I thought it was just interesting nonetheless that with this hyper-modern opening that Alekhine is not dominating the center. And you'll notice too, and it's because that he had the developing bishop with tempo. But I mean, black has outdeveloped white at this point. Very interesting Take a picture of that. You won't see that very often. As I say, though, it's just temporary. So he's going to gently, he opens up the king bishop, but that's going to help him grab the center. His opponent very correctly castles. I know you hear it as a maxim, seriously, castle early. I've heard one grandmaster say castle within the first 10 moves, and that can be a good thing. So, hey, Chris Gordon, I already said hi to you. And I'll say hi to you again. Boy, I tipped over those 2 pawns. Alekhine immediately hits the center. And he does it in such a way that there's tension. I mean, he doesn't want to butt up the pawns against each other. He wants to undermine black center. So that's why the c5 push, right? So it's time to exchange some pawns. Very interesting, or the c4 pawn. I'm sorry, I said c5, I meant c4. Very interesting. He leaves the tension and he pulls another piece in, knight c6. Okay, so this guy knows how to play chess. He's not a mamby-pamby at all. And Alekhine leaves the tension and he hits the center again with the d4. So see, in just a few short moves. Now this shows you can do it. See, this is the encouraging thing with Alekhine, for real. The center can be fought for. And if you do get behind in development or influence or possession of the center, you fight for the center. And this is a whole new game. And we're just 3 more moves down. So this is really good. And the bishop will bump back to b6. Now, he doesn't chase him, and it's tempting. I get it. It is. That when I first played through this game, I said, ooh, yeah, now really ram that bishop out. But the problem with that is you are in the beginning. Yeah. And so, as a general principle of chess philosophy, you don't really want to make a whole lot of pawn moves because, by logic, the pieces are more powerful, right? So move pieces, and we see Alekhine doing that. That is, at this stage in the game, that is the better move than pushing that pawn. Leave the option open for yourself. Queen e7. Now, notice how speedily these guys are developing. This is really a main theme that is very important. And now bishop d3. Again, just observing, they're leaving the tension of those pawns. They know the center's going to be argued with. But if you was to fight for the center with just your pawns and you don't back the pawns up with pieces, then you'll lose the center. And I know you go, yeah, well, duh. I mean, dude, that's common, easy, basic. Yeah, everybody knows that. Yeah, everybody knows that. But a lot of people don't do it. And this is so fast. And you see it in all the games all the time. It's amazing. So with a preparation to maintain your hold on the center, with the development and preparation of all your power to keep the center, that's really critical. You'll fight for it later. You don't have to hurry up and decide which pawn is going to be in the center right now because you really don't know. It is best to get your pieces. And I know I make hash about that all the time on purpose because that's critically important. So, bishop d3, nice bump out. Now, rook d8. Here come the rooks. Now, see, the queen has come up. And this is a good thing because that enables you to connect the rooks. Yeah, black still has his bishop to kick out, and that's going to be easy enough for him to do. But once you get your light pieces developed, the bishops and the knights, then, of course, you go to your heavy pieces. That is what we're seeing. And it's really good that we're seeing this. Now Alekhine will castle. Yeah, see, again, as a general rule, within the first 10 moves, right? And he is on the 11th move, castling, which is all good. And sure enough, now the pieces are developed well, the rooks are connected. Hot dog, let's go, baby. Now the real fight can begin. We're kind of done skirmishing, and now let's see what we've got here. And so this is what we're seeing here. So only here does Alekhine venture to move another piece twice. And it's a doozy. Knight e5. Boink. Put that guy. Hold on. Let me. My board is a swinging. All right. There we go. Knight e5 on the outpost. Good. It's not a permanent outpost. But notice again, with the pawn backing him, and he is directly hitting into the center of the opponent's territory. So, you know, when your opponent does this to you, if you don't really, and there are times in our game, I know, when you say, yeah, well, I don't know what to do. I've moved everything. Everything's covered. All of his pieces are protected. I can't see a lot of weaknesses. I mean, what do I do now? There's still a lot of stuff on that board. Yeah. What you do is you put a piece in there that attacks deep in his territory. That's what you start to do. That's what we're seeing. So this is how to do the good chess. Now, interestingly enough, there's not an exchange just yet. There can be, yes, but there's not. What he does is he hangs on to his bishop. And it cramps Black. You kind of get that impression, don't you? He's kind of stuck. You know, you get that feel of, oh man, that's tight, because it is tight. White gives the impression that he's got more space. And it's that knight that gives that impression, because that knight does give him more space, right? So he didn't change off his bishop, but it's his bad bishop. The pawn's in the center, you know, on the light-colored squares, and it's the light-colored bishop that he's saving. So strategically not as sound as it could have been. It would have been okay to let the knight take that bishop. It wouldn't have hurt you. It would have actually helped you uncramp, not only uncramp your position, but get rid of a piece that you're going to have a very difficult time putting into the game anyway, right? So not the best strategy, but it's okay, it works. Now, so on this theme, if you do have a position, if you have a situation where you're cramped, and Black, you know, there's not a lot of space here. They're kind of all globbed right there, right? So when you see that in your opponent, you have a strategy. Okay, he's cramped. Keep him cramped. How do I gain more space in the process, which will automatically keep him cramped? How would you do that? That's what comes to mind. Yeah. And it's very important. Look at this. He pushes F4. And you go, okay, BYP, you said before in the past, you castle your king and you really have to try to keep your pawns in front of your king. And that is true as a general strategic principle. With the cramping of Black at this point, gaining more space is the proper mode. Again, just like I showed in the other video that I just made last night, I believe, or yesterday, or the day before. One of my recent videos. There's not a lot coming through this center. It's certainly not an open board. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, right? So it's not like your king is going to be attacked within the next 3 to 5 moves at best. Because you're never going to get an attack done with just one or two pieces. A queen alone, no, forget it. You're not going to checkmate anything or anybody with just the queen, right? So you want to get more and more pieces. Oh, hey, oh, what's his face? How are you? Virginia Beach, man. Woohoo. Welcome from Virginia Beach. I am in the cold winter world of -0 degrees right now. So doing some chess on a cold day. The F4 is going to make sure he keeps a lid on Black, or help. keep a lid on black. Now, you don't want to just sit there and wither. And you do have a partial open file. You can nab the C file. So black properly puts his rook there. Not bad. Now, it's a full development for black, which is wonderful. Look at Alekhine. He's still got his queen and both rooks to develop. Technically, he's castled, so you can say a queen and a rook. So he's still behind in development as white, which is very interesting to see. Not for long, of course not. He's going to match. He says, oh, you want to go to the C file? Yeah, I'll fight you for the C file too. Look, I'm fighting you for the center. You think you're going to get a file? No, I'm going to fight you for the file also. That's power chess. That's good chess. That's the way to do it. That's what you want. Now, the knight is going to relocate, come to a better place, but look how cramped black is. That is the one thing that the comments discussed really, really heavily. Oh, hey, thank you. That's very kind of you. Oh, Jerry R705, thank you. Keep up the great lessons. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate your support, and I will. I have two of them today. I'm right in the middle of the one right now, so thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. So now, as a general rule, if you're the one that has the greater space, you want to hang on to the pieces. And if you're cramped, then look for ways to trade off pieces. And that's what I was saying earlier about him bumping back his bad bishop. Strategically, it would have been better to let that knight exchange that bishop. And I get it. Yeah, okay. Bishops generally are somewhat slightly better than knights. And that does depend on the position of the board. But really, you've got two pawns here that, now this is going to be exchanged, so maybe it will open up. Maybe he's more far-seeing, but the bad bishop is exchangeable without really hurting you, as opposed to the very active knight. See, look at the effect. This bishop is just worthless at this point, and this knight is just causing havoc at this point, right? So there is that. So Alekhine, though, he will take the c6 knight. He's going to take, and the rook takes. See, aren't you glad you came to the C file, even though it was only partly open? And yeah, there's stuff on it, but aren't you glad you came to the file? Because now you've got it. Your rook is even stronger here. You've moved it forward, so now you have influence this direction as well. I just want you to observe that, right? Sometimes they say, well, you should have retaken with the pawn. But remember, black is so cramped. Black is so cramped. And the downside of that is you don't want to close your file off. Why? That would have been wrong. That makes your rook move a waste of time. Yes. And you say, well, it feels safer to retake with the pawn, because nobody's really going to attack the pawn, which isn't true. But that is a much weaker position. I just want you to see this so that you understand it. Then the response he gave, that gives you a lot more power. That's a better way to exchange in this position. Oh, hey, it looks like someone else. Hey, Divert. I'll get to your question in a little while, I think. So this is how he responded, by taking with the rook. So Alekhine continues to expand. And now notice how he does this. This is really interesting. The tension's been here for quite a few plays, right? For quite a few moves. And it's a real tension directly asking, how's the center going to go? Instead of relieving the tension here, though, Alekhine has a better move. He hits the bishop. Now that puts a long pawn chain on there, which means the center is going to be more closed. But notice the effect. Rather than taking the pawn, and then this pawn would take, which opens up the light square diagonal for the bishop. This bishop is buried now because Alekhine closed the position. So that's not only a strategically position power move, it also goes with tempo. Let's see what he does with the bishop. What do you do with the bishop? Black is so cramped, and being cramped means when Alekhine has the room and the ability to coordinate an attack on the king side, the pawns are going that way. So you know that's where he's going to head, right? It's not going to be a queen. Nothing's over here really on the queen side. So Alekhine's not going to pay attention to the queen side. You know it's either going to be center or king side. Realistically, king side. Look at all that free open field he has, right? So in that instance, you really have to get space to be able to maneuver your rooks and bishops and knights and queen to be able to protect the king. Alekhine's queen is already pointing there. The queen, that's the strongest attacking piece. It's already there. The bishop is already pointing there, right? The bishop is already pointing there, even though at this point it's closed off in the pawn chain. But just recognize that Black understands that he has to get more space, so therefore his response here is much more meaningful. He loses the exchange. What he ends up doing is he gives up a knight for 2 pawns. That's what he does. But look at the effects on the board for he went down the exchange, 2 pawns for a knight, right? Knight takes, D takes, and now bishop takes. However, the effect of opening it up, giving him much better room to maneuver now it's helpful. The pawns are no longer blocked, so they can move forward, gaining more space, which will give him his bishop. So he's hoping it was worth losing that exchange, the knight for the 2 pawns. However, you are playing Alekhine. Hey, Ice Cream, I'm Lee Starkey. How you doing? Good to see you too, my friend. So the game is now picking up a little bit more tension, even though there's no tension direct between pieces or pawns just yet. Now Black can begin to show some muscle. That's his hope. Look at the clue that Alekhine gave him, that don't get your hopes up. Because I am Alexander Alekhine, and I am going to show you what I've got in mind. What do you think? What do you think of that move? Oh, man. Oh, come on. That is the famous rook lift. That tells you without question Alekhine's going to the king side. We have known that now, though, for the last 3 or 4 moves because of the nature of the cramped pieces of Black and the pointing toward the king side. So we get it, but now he facilitates it with an extra rook lift. And you know when your opponent lifts a rook, it's H-file or G-file material. And where is the dark king? On the G8. Yeah. So you don't even have to read minds. You know what's on their mind by the way they're playing the game, by the way they're moving the pieces. Oh, it looks like we got some more. Good. Hey, Lee Starkey. Oh, thank you. Love your enthusiasm. Well, I love being enthusiastic. Oh, you've been watching me since 2012? Oh, my gosh. I'm not worthy. Thank you. Hopefully, I'll bring you some more good stuff. I'll bring you boatloads of good stuff because they've played the good stuff. I have to have contemporary chess people to show you, you know, Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura and all of them. The one I've discovered that I really like right now, 2 of them, three, 4. Oh, my heavens. There's so many excellent contemporary chess players right now. I'm not giving them their due yet, but I will. Norditsky, Daniel Norditsky. My gosh, he's good. He's fun to watch. And Nelson Lopez. Look him up. I love him. He's fun. He's good. So anyway, back to reality of showing how to do a kingside attack. You know this is what's happening. Rook f3, that is the lift. So in principle, uh, and notice, and you say, well, black looks a little bare here, and Alekhine is kind of saying that somewhat in the notes. He's hinting at it. This is out of his My Best Games book. But the queen is here, and the bishop is close, and the rook is already up. All I have to do is push that pawn, and he's got a great third row protect. So the king isn't in danger as such. That's just what I wanted you to see. So bishop takes a3. Let's try to exchange a bishop. And you say, okay, yeah, but man, that's his good bishop. And Jeremy Silman, didn't he say the better strategy is to trade off your bad bishop? Remember the bad bishop. And you're thinking that trading the good bishop is a good thing. With the character of the board, in this instance, it is simply because of the pure, unadulterated, raw power of that bishop's diagonal. That's wicked. And it's Alekhine to boot. So get rid of that bishop. It's worth the exchange. So I think he's thinking right. But here's where Alekhine begins to show why he is Alekhine. And it's animal what he does. Okay, so the idea in chess is to not play defensive if you can help it, because that leads you to being too, how do you put it, blasé or passive or whatever, right? If you can at all help it, don't play passive chess. And when you're the attacker, and Alekhine always was the attacker, and this is perhaps why he always played the way he did. You don't want to exchange your powerful pieces, not when you're on the attack. That's why if you do have a setup where you can go after the king, for instance, and your opponent offers you to swap queens, don't. Try to keep your lady. Well, I mean, to take that bishop would be ridiculous. And give that up? Oh, heavens, no. No, and Alekhine doesn't. So how do you protect that bishop? You become a raging bull is how you protect your piece. Oh, looks like there's a few more. Oh, no, Lee's just talking. Are knights better than bishops? It depends on the position. Generally, Lee, bishops are considered better. Just slightly. They're both worth 3 points. That's true, but it does depend on the position. And I've shown some games that show you that. And of course, I've got many more games that will show you that. Great question. In this instance, no, knights are not better than bishops, simply because the board is so open, meaning that there's not locked pawn chains, that the bishops can have the long, powerful diagonals. So in this case, these bishops are clearly, they would be much better. Both of these bishops are much better than this knight. This knight's only hitting these squares, right? Those. So in this instance, the bishops are better. Thank you for the question. So bishop takes. What do? Rook takes c6. Kablam! An affront to black's dignity. How dare you attack my main man? Well, that's how I dare. Right up the aisle. So notice that now black doesn't have time to take that bishop. And remember, I'm not kidding, black would love to, because that is such a powerful bishop there. That is a wickedly fabulous bishop. But he just lost a rook. And you're not going to go down the exchange of a rook for a bishop if you can help it. So watch how he does this, though. He does not, notice, he does not retake with the pawn. Now, I agree with you. That's a pretty powerful central wedge. That's true. But again, there's no aisle for the rook. He can't come over here and claim that C file. He'd have to come all the way over here to the B file. But there's nothing here. And pretty soon there's not going to be anything else here either, right? All of the stuff's over here. That's where you want your open files if you can create them. That means pushing your pawns, which he can now do, right? So, no, the pawn exchange is not nearly, that bishop hasn't been doing anything for a while. It was buried in concrete for a while. You retake with the bishop, absolutely. And now check this out. Look at the difference in power between the bishop and the pawn. And yes, at this point, that bishop is like a tall pawn in the pawn chain for the moment. But check it out, just in the future, look how that would change the dynamic. Open that baby up and torque it up. Crank it up, baby. You're hitting a rook. You are hitting a central pawn. You see the effect. So much better to exchange with the bishop than the pawn in this instance, without question. And in most instances, if you can, if it's feasible, simply because the pieces have so much more energy and power than pawns. If you can, you always want to use your pieces, right? Great way to retake. So now, again, it's a sweet bishop. You don't want to lose it. How do you keep it? Check. And you go, oh, wow. Okay, and then notice, though, once again, now this is the second time in a row, that he doesn't have time to get rid of that magnificent bishop, right? Because now he's in check. This is the best of the forcing moves, so you really do have to react to that now. You notice Alekhine hasn't felt the necessity of having to react to that threat. And what he's done is he counterattacks. And that's one of the cool things about Alekhine. And it's one of the great lessons. And it takes practice. Yeah, you got to develop the eye for this stuff, you know. I hate it when my rook gets attacked. Oh, no, the rook's in danger. How can I save him? That's your first instant reaction, isn't it? That's what we want to try to train ourselves to say, okay, yeah, my bishop is attacked, or a rook, or my queen, or whatever. Okay, so I am under attack. Do I have to respond to that? Or can I find a way to attack him back with a worse threat? Now, this is the second move that we've seen Alekhine hit him with a really strong enough move that he's had to react to instead of worrying about this. And this is a worry because that is a major player. That's not just a normal bishop. That bishop commands the diagonal, the longest, most powerful diagonal on the whole board. So that's not small meat and potatoes if he loses that bishop. But he's not moving it out of the way, and he's not exchanging. He's counterattacking. Good stuff. That's good stuff. So, and you say, all right, yeah. Notice also he weakened the king, took the pawn, and go, yeah, all right. He lost the bishop. That's right. Bishop sacrifice. He did lose that bishop because it brought the king out. Now the rook. Hero. Charge. Did I not tell you when you see a rook lift, you're going to see it on the G or H file? I told you that. I know I did. You can rewind the tape and see that. There it is. Check. So once again, the strongest type of forcing move, he still does not have time to get rid of one of the most dangerous pieces against him. because now he's in check again. You see the pattern. There's a real pattern. Well, okay, I solved it. Ta-da, no big deal. So what did that accomplish? What did that accomplish? He's got his bishop here still, didn't he? Then that's what it accomplished. For the last two moves, he hasn't lost the bishop. He hasn't had to play a weak, passive defense move like this to save the bishop. See, that's weak sauce. He's been counterattacking. He's been weakening the king's side. He's been getting rid of a very powerful rook on the aisle, on the file. So it's not like you hadn't been doing anything. But then to all of a sudden do a passive move like that? No. No. There is still a better move yet that he still won't have time to take the bishop. And we're on the third move in a row now. What do you think that move will be? Do I think Alekhine could beat Carlson? Oh, heavens, yes. Maybe. Probably not in blitz. Probably not in the I don't know. Boy, that's a good question. I don't know, man. Boy, wouldn't that have been great to see those two go at it? Oh, man, that would have been awesome. Kablam. Lightning bolt. Thunder. Earthquake. And now you know why Fisher didn't understand Alekhine. None of us do. What are you doing, Alexander? Are you kidding me? Now, look, you guys, in a game, I mean, this kind of reminds you, it's world famous, but I need to make a video of it. You remember Lasker's? I mean, very famous double bishop sacrifice. This is kind of reminiscent of that, right? And you go, you threw the one. You didn't throw the bishop away. You took the H pawn, right? Well, all right. You didn't throw the bishop away. You took the G pawn, but still, I mean, really? Really? Yeah, he resigned at this point. And you go, wait, whoa, what? He resigned here? Are you serious? Oh, I just heard my heater. Hold on, I got to turn my heat down. Oh, boy. I must love you guys to want to turn my heat down on a cold day like today, man. Maybe I better put my other coat on, too. Yeah, here he resigned. And I want to play this out because this shows that Alekhine could see like 5 or 6 or 7 moves ahead. Now, we've got username in the chat in the audience. He can see that far ahead, but I can't. So I don't know if I would have resigned or not. But here's the problem. You can't just take the bishop. Yeah, you think you can't. No, you can't. You can't just take the bishop. If you just take the bishop, it's pure murder from here out. So it's not going to work. So taking the bishops out. See, again, because of his superior development, and he never even moved the queen yet, right? He left the queen there. But she is so powerful on that diagonal because the pawns are moved off. So, okay, you can't take the bishop. What can you do? You can do something like this because pushing the pawn opens the row for the queen to help defend. And you do have the rook to defend. So, I mean, come on, that's not bad. Alekhine says this is what he would do. And you go, okay. Well, in that case, the obvious rejoinder would be this. Now, see, now you're beginning to get a very powerful defense, right? I mean, the queen's right next to the king. Man, what more do you want, right? However, the problem with that is now, of course, the queen will come to h5. Now you're beginning to see some issues. You say, oh, and he's backed by the rook on h3 too. That stupid blasted rook. But wait, I do have a bishop here. That's way down here doing nothing. And now he can come and play a major, major role in the defense. Now it's starting to look good for black. At this point, you're going, but he already resigned. So why? Because it looks to me like at this point, he is really getting together a great defense, right? Queen comes check. Yeah, blasted queen. Now look, you've got the H file covered by the rook. You got the G file covered by the queen. Yikes. This is getting brutal. But you can block. But if you do that, again, do the math. That's what makes this stuff so interesting. When you split the board in half and do the math, there's 1, 2, 3 pieces, almost 4, 3.5, although that knight's not going to be able to help. So 3 pieces against 2. So technically you're overpowering your opponent, and you are. You just simply take the bishop. Now, Alekhine at this point says, I would take the bishop, and now I've won. And I got thinking, wait a minute. Now you've won? Can't the queen take that bishop? How are you going to win here? The queen, the white queen, is hitting this square and simultaneously to e6. So come over to here and go check. Now the king can't run to the h because the rook, and the king doesn't want to move to the f, so the queen comes over. At this point, black would want to get rid of the queen because the queen is a better attacker than a defender. So you got to block. Hopefully he'll exchange the queen, but that's why he wins, because now if he did that, the rook comes straight in and check, right? Then the king will take the rook and you win the queen and the game. So that's the first Alekhine brilliancy that I wanted to show you, and I'll tear that one out of the record books. I'll say hi to everybody. Anybody else show up? Yeah, queen to h5. Yep. Okay, so let me reset this up again, and I'll show you the second chess brilliancy that Alekhine played against Koltanowski. Now this, thank you, Steve Acosta. Oh, Steve, you're learning to play chess. Oh my gosh, I'm honored, my friend. Well, you really suck right now. So do I. My 13-year-old grandson beat me 2 out of 3 last night. Good Lord. Look, we're all in the same boat, my friend, except for our very dear friend and good man, username. It's okay, because every chess game is a lesson. If you don't remember anything from the Backyard Professor for the rest of your life, remember that for me. Every chess game, it's not about winning or losing. At this point, every chess game is a lesson, and guess what? They're free. And you get to have fun with your grandson as well. So it's a good family. It's a good, healthy, fun family time together learning how to play chess. So it's okay. Let him beat you like crazy, because look at the self-esteem that the grandson gets from saying, I beat my grandpa at chess last night, right? It's all fun. It really is. It's fun. But you learn something new every chess game. It doesn't matter whether you play others or play your own. It's all good. So I'm proud of you, Steve. That's awesome. Thank you. I'm honored to be partly influential in such a good thing in your life. It's wonderful. Best game ever invented. But this second game I have of Alexander Alekhine to show you, you're really going to love this too. Again, another chess brilliancy. And so it's all good. So, and again, Alekhine is white. Oh, looks like we got someone else here too. Oh, ice cream. Could you please do videos on the Gospel of Thomas? Sure. In fact, I'll tell you what. Let me do a video on my Mormonism live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Come then, 6 p.m. Mountain Time in the United States. Okay? I'll do the Gospel of Thomas tomorrow. Do Gospel of Thomas. That's a great gospel. It's a great Gnostic information. Yeah. Do Gospel, Gnostic Gospel of Thomas. For you, my friend, ice cream, I will. I will do it tomorrow night live, 6 o'clock. Be there. I'll be happy to. For you, absolutely. Brian J., any chance for more chess miniatures? Yes, sir. Thank you. I love chess miniatures, right? So did you guys. Yes, I will. Actually, I should do some chess miniatures live, shouldn't I? That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? The trouble is with this way, see, I have to reset up the board, but it's okay. You guys seem to like this big board better than the electronics. I am going to do both because there's sometimes when I really do need to show some variations, okay? So just bear with me, enjoy both types, but I will never not do this. I will always be doing this one also, okay? So for now, let's get to the second game. Good suggestion. Thank you. Gospel of Thomas up tomorrow night. You don't want to miss it. I promise there's some great stuff on the Gospel. Oh, yeah. My good pleasure, ice cream. Brian J. Kablam. Love chess miniatures. Yeah. You got it. I will do some chess miniatures for you, my friend. Fundamentally so. Okay, so Alekhine's white again. Now, in this one, he's playing Kolkanowski. And they do the king opening, e4, e5, and knight f3, of course. Say, hey, on guard to the pawn. And the knight c6. The purpose of the c6 is to say, nope, you're not going to take that pawn. So, see, it's all logical. So, Alekhine does the Ruy Lopez Spanish opening. Great opening. One of Bobby Fischer's favorites. He had it literally, truly memorized to 50 moves in depth. I don't even think I'm exaggerating. He was amazing with the Ruy Lopez. And of course, you bump the pawn and you move the bishop back. I have seen, they're rare, but I have seen games where they bop the bishop back this way. It's probably a variation that I don't know the name of. I apologize, but Alekhine doesn't do that. He goes to here. So bishop back to a4. And now d6. So he's not going to do the variation where you pull the other knight out just yet. He wants to solidify his central pawn. Now, the logic of this also makes good sense. The pawn is still under attack, right? But what if you want to use your knight for later on? So support the pawn so that the knight isn't stuck babysitting the pawn. Knight's worth 3 points. The pawn is worth only 1. It makes sense to let the pawn do the guarding and let the knight go out there and fight, right? That makes sense. Okay, so we've got that down. Well, look what Alekhine does. He says, he changes his mind. He flips the coin and he goes, oh, nope, time to take the bishop or the knight. So he comes back and says, nope, I'm taking the knight. So the knight is out of it on the queen side. Notice how this changes the very interesting dynamics of the tension. Here's the squares, the e5 and the d4 that the knight was touching in the direct center, right? So those are no longer supported or attacked, right? Because all you have is the pawn, which touches just these two. That's kind of a nifty little illustration to show the difference between a piece and a pawn as well, right? So Alekhine says, let's fight for the center. And Black says, okay, let's do it. I'm not going to let you have it. And he says, well, I will take it with the knight. Again, possessing a central square, influencing others around him. And let's bring the... So is Koltanowski getting ready to castle queenside? It looks like it. He's developing his queenside pieces faster at this point. Alekhine has already castled just now at the moment. And now he's going to fianchetto his bishop, which is going to make a very interesting game. So in order to make sure that you can keep tabs on that bishop that's going to have an incredible diagonal, you must have your army developed, because that bishop is going to outdo everybody if you're not careful, right? That is a huge power play. So keep your eye on that. And so another way to do that is to, and granted, it's not an open file yet. It's not, but the rook on e1 is very influential after central pawns are pushed, clash, and exchanged to open up central files. The rook e1 always seems to get all the action. He is a tough character. Always a good move. Knight will develop. Here we go. He's going to get ready to castle. And now bishop f4. It's kind of the London system bishop, right? Where he bops it up there on f4. But he's got a very important diagonal coming on in case he decides to castle queenside. Probably not, because it's going to take you a couple of more moves to get the queen out of the way, right? So realistically, probably not. And actually, no, he does castle this time. So, okay. Castling both on the same side. So, what is the strategy? We know the strategy when they castle on opposite sides. Fight like crazy. Just go like crazy. When you castle on the same side, the strategy is fight like crazy. No, I'm serious. You say, well, you would think chess is a game of fighting. Duh. However, rather than just go full tilt, for instance, had he castled this side, you would go absolutely full tilt with everything you've got over here to get the king. And he would go absolutely full tilt to do everything he could to go get the king on here. But in this instance, it's ideal, it's best. The strategic method is to control the center so that from the center, you can shift to the wing. And that goes for both sides. So the fight like crazy is for real. It's in the center, not the side only. You don't just all of a sudden diminish the center, leave the center, abandon it, and go to the side. You go to the center and then go to the side. Either direction. That's the best strategy. Whew. Enough talking, my man. Queen d2. Okay, queen up. Rooks are connected. Nice. Very important move. c5. Okay, so he's got the doubled pawns. They are a weakness if you don't advance them. So it makes sense. And you say, well, okay, but, and it's a good point, it really is important to get your queen off of that back rank so that those rooks can come into this game. And you're at least one or two moves away from that still. So what are you doing moving pawns? There's a balancing act with that. You kind of got to go, yeah, which is going to be the more valuable to me at this point. At this point, he chose the pawn. Number one, that central located knight is that's a good place for it. And it does exert some influence. So can he chase him off? And the answer is yes, he did. Not bad. Back to b3. However, now he's hitting the pawn. It is protected, though. But understand, oh, David Bedini. Oh, well, thank you. First time watching. Welcome. I'm on the What's Your ELO? My ELO sucks. I haven't played enough rated games to know. They say it hovers on Lichess around 1560 at this point, right? My FIDE score is perfectly miserable because I haven't been to an actual tournament since before COVID a long time ago, and I got my butt trounced and I got my ego hurt, and then life took over. My wife got cancer. I had to bow out of chess for a couple of years, and I'm making a comeback now. My full intention now is it's on my bucket list to build it. So thank you for asking. Right now we're just learning and playing excellent grandmaster chess games. And I've got to straighten out my blunders. I blunder way too much, man. I've got to work on that. I've got to get to where I do not blunder before I start playing live chess. I'm not going to play live chess until I can at least quit blundering. So that's how that works. In the meantime, we can do great chess together anyway. So thank you. I hope you enjoy it. There's some good people here. That's a big question, Lee. I can't answer that right now. The best argument against E4. Oh, hey, there's Jerry R708. Yeah. Same with my wife. The chemo did worse than the cancer, I'm afraid, but that's how it works. So anyway, back to reality for the moment. Now, knight B3, and he's going to relocate the knight to C6. So you notice the relocation sort of puts him on the queen side, and yet he can jump to the middle also. So that's not a bad relocation, right? That's all right. What does Alekhine do? He immediately attacks. Come on. It wouldn't be Alekhine if he didn't, right? I don't know if you noticed this or not. It's one thing to, this is another thing to kind of train your mind to see both for you or if your opponent does this, make sure you're prepared for this. But Alekhine has created the queen bishop battery against the king side, right? He's going to go ahead and use that. So don't think that because your bishop is being challenged that you have to take. Don't think that. You do not have to take that white bishop because that's going to put that queen. Notice the weak dark squares because he pushed the G3. It's better to have a bishop there than the queen there. So don't take that bishop. Okay, your bishop's lost. Just recognize that. But don't you initiate the exchange. Don't do it. Fair warning, your game will suck if you take that bishop. White will trounce you every time. Yes, you will, ice cream. Don't think that. Don't say I'll never be able to beat them. Look, I have plenty of critics who tell me I should be way better than I am, and they're probably right, but I am seriously working on it from now until the rest of my life. Before I retire, I'm going to beat the chess odds. I'm going to, my goal, you'll see. Don't think that. Don't be defeatist. You can get to where you can beat your friends, even if they're years ahead of you in chess. So anyway, I'm not trying to preach to you, buddy. And he doesn't make that mistake. But he does do something very good. Bishop E6. Okay. Now you see the difference just one small bump can make in the bishop. This is really cool. I want to show you this. You got to see it because you'll begin to get it. You'll begin to believe it when you see it, especially if you see it over and over and over again. That's why I like to point it out to you, right? Here, the knight is in the way. Now, technically, it's not in the way because it is developed and it has a really good function. So that's not a negative. But just realize it is a limitation. He's only got this diagonal, as if that's an only. Yeah. Well, look at the difference now, though. You still have the knight effective with the dark squares, but now you've added the entire row hitting the knight of white squares both directions. And all you did is move it one square forward. So see that, understand that. That's big. That's big. What I'm trying to say is that's a good move. And Alekhine went to the edge. And it's dangerous. That's not a weak move. The proper response to a wing attack is something in the center. So he's building up and strengthening his center. That's the way to do it. Okay? Now, you knew it was happening. You knew it was happening once you saw this battery. You did correct by not you initiating that exchange, but you knew your bishop's gone. Okay, so you recognize that. So bishop takes, king takes. So the dark square bishop's gone. That leaves black with the permanent weaknesses of dark squares around his king, and that is what you will focus on if you are white now. Okay, so let's see how he does it. There's Alekhine for you. How do you do it? Centralize. Yeah, but I'm trying to attack my king. Centralize. That's how to do it. Because from the center, the power will go to the side. But you got to have it in the center. What a great outpost there. Yeah, that knight. You know, that knight is a nuisance for black. You've got to address that. In other words, that's a great move. F6. Okay, what's going on? Observe. Ta-da! Finally, I was afraid there for a little bit. Is Alekhine actually going to leave a piece out of the game? No, not Alekhine. Now he brings it to the D1 file, the partial open file. He's got a pawn target, but look who's on the other side of the pawn. Queen. Queen. Best place to put your rooks, you guys, every time is either across from the queen. Don't worry about what's in between. That is irrelevant. All of that stuff shifts. Put your rook across from either the queen or the king, and you can't be putting it on the wrong square. Just as a general rule. That's always a great place to put your rook. There you go. There's your example. Rook A to D1, and now rook B8. Look at this. Okay, look, pal. You grab a partial file. I'm going to grab a partial file. Correct. Now, better would be if he could contest those central files. See, well, he's still got a lot of pawns way back here. He still doesn't have a lot of space. And he really does need to go forward. Start pushing those pawns. And there's the downside. We're into move what? Move 17. And you still don't have a lot of space. And you've got a wickedly powerful knight on an outpost right in the heart of the position. It's kind of tough for black right now. That's a little bit rugged. And so you're going to have to make some drastic measures, but recognize the problem now is Alekhine is already attacking you, right? And your king side really does have some weaknesses. But you got the rook and the bishop next to you, the white squared bishop. They're great guardians, don't kid yourself. But it's the dark squares that are weak, and your dark square bishop is what's gone. So they'll always be weak. So black's got a tough road to hoe is what I'm trying to tell you. But he's trying his best. Rook B8 is a good shot. Queen C3. Once again, nothing overly huge, nothing overly dramatic, and yet a further development, a further centralization forward, and grabbing the diagonal, pinning the pawn to the king. Very important. Good, solid eye on the center. Good, solid eye on the queen side. That's a great square. That's a better square at this point for the queen than that one. Can you see that? Just one bump. That makes a difference, right? You know what else that move does, which is super duper sensational, really seriously, is it opens up the rook. Target, I know it's guarded. Forget all that noise for the moment. Understand the principle. The rook and the rook. Yes, he's got his own pawn there, but that pawn is not in the way because that pawn is giving him his outpost. It's all good. He's set up strategically stronger, is what I'm telling you. So, queen c8. It needs to register in all of our minds that whenever your opponent does put the rook across from your queen, you will literally want to get your queen off of that same file sooner or later. Sooner is better in case you get all wrapped up in this takes that, that takes that, that takes that, and that takes that. And then all of a sudden, you lose your queen to the rook because you forgot that she was across from the rook. So there you go. You gotta get the queen off. And that gives Alekhine an interesting option. A3. And you go, what are you doing, dude? Watch. Rook f7. An interesting move that covers his second rank because he sees the attack is coming. He sees the centralization of that knight. He also sees the queen pointing toward the king's side on that diagonal. So this will be interesting. You got to protect that second rank. Everyone's basically moved up from the first rank. Let's see what happens. H3. Alekhine says this is one of the more important features to keep his king safer because of the nature of the board. He went into a long, detailed, extensive analysis I can't possibly do with you. I apologize. I'm just not that in-depth at this point. I will. Thank you, David Bedini. I appreciate the tips, my friend. You're rated over 2,000. Fantastic. Thanks for watching. Yes, tactics of endgames. That's one thing I have to do. Oh, really? And that book got you over 2,000. Oh, now wait, that's cool. The Tactics of Endgames by Jenno Ban book. I will do that. Thank you so much for the tip. I appreciate that. Seriously, welcome. Thank you. Hopefully I can give you some good stuff from the Grandmasters while I improve my chess, which is my absolute goal. I will do that. So, queen to b7. Now, you got your queen off of the same file that the rook was on. Good. But don't just stop there. Remember, your queen is your most powerful piece. So bring her, continue. Notice how he shifted the center. And see, this is the thing. You got to dominate the center. That's where it flows from. But he's not weak here. Neither side is weak. But Alekhine does have the center files. So you got to get off the files. That's true. So he's shifting over to the queen side. But he does have this file. And he does have, when you look at it, no, he doesn't. He has less pieces on the queen side than Alekhine. He's shifting his power to the queen side, which might be the fatal mistake. We'll see, huh? Rook e3. Okay, what do we see in the last Alekhine game that I just finished? We saw the rook f3 rook bump. This is the rook e3. It really doesn't matter which rook. It wouldn't have mattered if it would have been the D3. It doesn't matter. The lift means you're going that way, over to either the H or the G file, because there's your king on the G file, right? So that lift is vital to have a good attack. Queen B5. Let's do this. Look at the lady enter. Right? Look at the lady enter. She's given support to her pawns. Very interesting. Let's see what happens. Knight will take C7. Oops. You left a pawn undefended. That knight, that terror of the center of the board, has just now struck pay dirt by weakening the central pawn chain, hitting the bishop, hitting the queen. Ouch. That's a great move. That causes problems. But black covered the contingency. He bumped his rook up to the second row, remember? So the rook takes the knight. So you're saying, wait a minute. Are you telling me Alekhine gave up a knight for a pawn? Basically, I think this is the one that he said, well, that's a partial, a partial sacrifice. But it changes the dynamics of the power, and watch how it does it. Because now he takes the second of the pawn chain, D6. Now black's position begins to collapse. Very interesting. Bishop C4. Look, it's not like he's not trying. He has amassed his power on the queen side. Notice how he's left the king completely by himself. Isn't it fascinating that it looked to us like everything was shifting over to the king side? Now, everything has come on both sides, both players. Everything has come over to battle on the queen side. What is going on? That is so interesting. And he continues. Here is one of the coolest tactics that to develop your eye with is going to help you so much. I was going to try to ask you to find it before I played it. Sorry, I kind of gave the game away. Just go up there and kick the queen right in the shin. There, lady. Take that. Get her attention. Get her angry. She looks down there and she goes, why, you little squirt? And she takes it. He deflects the guard of C5. Now the knight. What has Alekhine been doing? Amazingly, for the last 3 moves in a row, he's been taking pawns. Did you notice that? Central pawns and pawns that are supporting the center from the queen side. He has been eliminating them. Isn't that fascinating? What a strategy. Queen comes back to B5. You got the queen bishop battery, but it's not hitting anything, right? There's nothing there. Not the same as it was here, is it? Very important to know that. In fact, speaking of which, now you see the effect. That's how far in advance Alekhine saw this move. When he calculated the taking of the pawn that was interspersed with all of the pieces with that knight move when he took that first pawn. He was seeing if he can get rid of the pawn and shift a piece over, get rid of another pawn and shift a piece down, and then sacrifice a pawn to move a piece over so that he could then take another pawn, then it would put his rook in the position to support his queen so that she could give a check. And now look at that rook-queen combo. And the knight can bounce right in here anytime it wants. And notice the passed pawn right there in the center as backup insurance. This game is strategically done. White's going to win it. King G8. Fantastic insight, though, right? Knight D7. Here it comes. Here it comes. We are going to go checkmate. And you go, no, you can't lose your queen. Watch. Just watch what he does. Rook D8. Pin that knight. Hopefully get rid of it. And now look. Rook F3. What a fabulous use of open files, partial open files, acquiring targets so that you can use your file to give you the strength and power to hit the row. And now you bounce over and you've got the other file that gives you a second target of attack. You can get him from two directions. That's masterful chess. What do? Queen B4 hit the rook. But you're going to have to lose the exchange because even if you do that, would Alekhine pay attention or would he find a way to go ahead and get the king anyway and get rid of that rook? Let's look. C3. Say, nope, I'm not going to let you come down here and go check and bug me. Eliminate all counterplay. Don't give black one breath of fresh air. Don't do it. Nope, not going to happen. So queen goes back to B5. What do? You attack from the center power, your central influence. He comes back to knight E5. Rook D to C8. Double up the rooks. Knight will take C6. Eliminate the knight. Open up the position so that the rooks can't stop you. And it is here that black resigned for a very important reason. He's got an overworked piece in the rook. If he takes the knight, you don't retake the rook. That's not where the game is won. You come check. That's over. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that just amazing? If you take the rook, then you've got check in this direction and that direction. So that's what won him the brilliancy. Again, it's very interesting that as I look through his my best chess games, now Akiba Rubinstein was really truly one of the best. He was so brilliant. He was phenomenal. It just seemed like he brought out the tiger in Alekhine. He got several brilliant C's against Rubinstein. And I think for one of my next lives, one of my soon to come next lives, I'll do some of the Alekhine brilliancies for you. But wow, what a couple of good games that we've got. Oh, and we stopped with the comments from David Bedini. Thank you so much for that recommendation. I do appreciate it. Chris Gordon, you're correct. It is a balance between strategy and tactics. I agree. Chess will always be the greatest game. Absolutely. So, yeah, ice cream. I also have to work on my psychology. That's half the battle of chess is your internal battle with yourself. Can I do it or not? I mean, I am a pipsqueak compared to anyone else, and yet I can do this. I believe that, and I'm going to work my butt off this year to show that. So, besides, I have several critics whose mouths I would love to shut. There's only one way to do it. Get through all the practice. It's like Grandmaster Smirnoff advises us. He says, look, the more you bleed in practice, the less you'll bleed in war. I really love that saying. That's awesome. So just keep practicing, keep watching our videos, keep learning, applying it to your games, and we will get there. We will get there. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to go. I've been here for an hour 20. Awesome. That's fun. Thank you for all your support, moral, financial, physical, spiritual, whatever kind of support, psychological. It's a lot of fun doing this with you. I have been interrupted I've been doing this 10 years and I'm still not a chess master. Life keeps getting in the way, but you know what? I haven't quit. I haven't given up. I'm not gonna. So the comeback kid is coming back. We're going to have fun in the process, and we're going to enjoy each other's company and get through some great chess. So I'm going to head out now. You guys have a great weekend for the rest of the weekend. Don't forget Martin Luther King Day is Monday for those of us who celebrate it. And I will see you guys soon in either more chess videos or more chess lives. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for everything you do for me. And I will catch up to you just as soon as possible.